I never thought I'd come back to Willow Creek, that godforsaken suburb outside Chicago, where the houses all look like they were stamped out by the same indifferent machine, each one with its manicured lawn and two-car garage hiding skeletons bigger than the minivans parked in them. But there I was, stepping onto the cracked patio of my cousin Mark's McMansion. The air thick with the sizzle of burgers on the grill and the fake laughter of relatives who'd sooner spit on me than pass the potato salad. Aunt Linda, God, that witch with her peroxide bob and pearl-clutching ways, spotted me first, her lips curling like she'd just bitten into something sour. "Well, if it isn't Athena, fresh out of the big house," she drawled, loud enough for the whole backyard to hear, her voice slicing through the hum of cicadas like a rusty knife. "We all thought you'd learned your lesson about sticky fingers. Or did they teach you how to knit instead of steal?" The words hung there, venomous and deliberate, and for a split second, the world narrowed to just her smug face, the one I'd memorized during those endless nights in Cook County Jail, replaying every betrayal like a bad loop on a prison TV. Forks paused midair. Eyes darted. My sister Becca's widened in that fake pity she does so well. Uncle Ray coughed into his beer. I could feel the heat rising, not from the July sun beating down like God's own spotlight, but from the fire I'd banked for 3 long years. I smiled, slow and sharp, the kind of smile that says I've got receipts. "Sticky fingers? Aunt Linda? That's rich coming from you. After all, it was your signature on that first forged check, the one that kicked off the whole damn mess." Dead silence. You could have heard a ketchup packet drop. Aunt Linda's face drained of color, her martini glass trembling just enough to slosh olive brine onto her white capris. Becca gasped. Mark's wife froze with a hot dog halfway to her kid's mouth. And even the dog, some yappy terrier, stopped barking at the ice machine. No one moved. No one breathed. And in that vacuum, I tasted it, the first sweet tang of revenge. Cold and fizzy like the contraband soda I'd smuggled into my cell. It hadn't always been like this. Willow Creek was supposed to be our slice of the American dream. The kind they sell in those glossy real estate flyers, big yards for 4th of July fireworks, block parties where neighbors pretend not to notice the divorces or the DUIs. Our family ran Willow Hardware, a mom-and-pop store that had somehow ballooned into a chain of 5 outlets across the Midwest, thanks to Dad's endless hustle and Mom's knack for balancing books without a calculator. I was the eldest, Athena the achiever, the one who skipped prom to shadow Dad at inventory counts, dreaming of turning the place into a national brand. Becca was the baby, all giggles and golden curls, the one who got the free pass because she's got that artistic soul. And Aunt Linda? She was Dad's sister, the perennial hanger-on, always with a sob story about her deadbeat ex or her artistic pursuits that never quite panned out. She'd breeze in for holidays, coo over the kids, and leave with a loan from the till that Dad never asked back. The betrayal started small, the way these things do in families, like a crack in the foundation you ignore until the whole house tilts. It was 2021, peak pandemic scramble, when supply chains were a nightmare and everyone was hoarding lumber like it was gold. Willow Hardware was our lifeline, pulling in desperate contractors and weekend warriors fixing up home offices. I was CFO by then, 32 and buried in spreadsheets, while Dad handled the charm offensive at the front counter. One Tuesday, the auditors called a routine check. They said, but their tone had that edge, like cops sniffing for weed at a tailgate. Irregularities in the accounts, the lead guy grunted over the phone. Falsified invoices. About $150,000 unaccounted for. I knew it wasn't me. I'd bleed for that store. Logging 80-hour weeks while Becca flitted through community college art classes, dropping out to find herself in Austin for 6 months. But when the paper trail looped back, it looped to me. My login, my approvals, my damn signature scanned onto checks that bought phantom shipments of PVC pipe that never arrived. Someone had hacked the system, or worse, had access. I tore through the logs that night, coffee-fueled and frantic, Dad pacing the office like a caged bear. "It'll blow over. Kiddo," he muttered, but his eyes were scared. The kind of scared that comes from knowing your legacy's on the line. By Friday, the feds were involved. Wire fraud. They called it a felony that could bury us all. Dad pulled me aside in the stockroom, the air thick with the smell of sawdust and despair. "Athena, listen. We can fight this, but it'll drag the family through the mud. Becca's got that gallery show coming up. Mark's up for partner at the firm. And Linda. She's got nothing if this hits." His voice cracked. And I saw it then, the plea. Take the fall. Plead out to a lesser charge. Spare the empire. "It's 3 years. Max," he said. "Probation after. We'll make it right." I did it. Signed the plea deal in a fluorescent-lit courthouse, my hands shaking as the judge banged the gavel. 3 years in minimum security. The kind they call club fed, but feels like a slow suffocation anyway. Endless counts. Lukewarm oatmeal. And the constant hum of regret. The family visited at first, Mom with care packages of books, mostly self-help crap. Dad with awkward updates on the business. Becca sent postcards from her travels, all sunsets and vague apologies. But Aunt Linda? She came once. Early on. Her face pinched like she'd smelled something rotten. "You're doing the right thing, dear," she said, patting my hand through the plexiglass. "Family first, then nothing." Radio silence. The store thrived without me, expanding to 7 locations while I learned to braid my own hair and ignore the whispers in the yard. Out on good behavior after 32 months, I emerged into a world that had moved on without me. Willow Creek looked the same, strip malls with vape shops where the diners used to be, kids on e-bikes dodging potholes, but I was a ghost. Job offers dried up. Who hires an ex-con with embezzlement on her resume? I crashed on a friend's couch in the city, temping as a data entry drone. The irony bitter as black coffee. But I didn't come back empty-handed. In jail, I'd had time, too much time, and a contraband phone from a sympathetic guard. I dug. Hacked old emails with a burner laptop smuggled in parts. And what I found, not just one forgery. A trail leading straight to Aunt Linda's doorstep, her emails to a shady accountant in Gary. Invoices doctored in her chicken scratch handwriting. Deposits to an offshore account disguised as consulting fees. She'd been skimming for years, bleeding the store dry to fund her lifestyle, a condo in Florida, designer bags, the works. Dad knew, or suspected. That's why the plea. Protect the sister. Sacrifice the daughter. Revenge isn't a lightning bolt, it's a slow burn, the kind that chars from the inside out. I planned it meticulously, like restocking shelves after a Black Friday rush. First, the anonymous tips to the family group chat screenshots, redacted but damning, timed for maximum awkwardness at birthdays and barbecues. Whispers started. Did you see what Athena sent? Then, the lawyer letters, polite but pointed, demanding audits. Aunt Linda squirmed, called me ungrateful, but I could hear the panic in her voicemails. Deleted but backed up on my cloud. The reunion was the capstone. Mark's annual blowout to celebrate the store's record year. I RSVP'd yes.
Casual as hell.
And drove down in a rented Civic. My heart pounding like bass at a dive bar. That's when it hit, the backyard hush after my bomb dropped. Aunt Linda sputtered. That's a lie. She's deranged. Fresh out of therapy. But I had the printouts in my purse. Notarized copies from a PI I'd hired on credit. Uncle Ray cleared his throat, eyes flicking to his wife, Becca's mom, who I'd always thought was the sane one. Linda, is this? She waved him off, but the damage was done. The party fractured. Some kin sidled up to me, murmuring support. Others shot glares hot enough to grill their own steaks. Becca pulled me aside by the kiddie pool, her voice a hiss. What the hell? Athena? You couldn't just let it go? Mom's a mess because of you. I laughed, low and hollow. Your mom's a thief, Becca. And I did her time. So yeah, I'm letting it go right after she pays up. But as the sun dipped low, painting the sky bruise purple, I caught Aunt Linda on the deck, phone to her ear, whispering furious nothings. She saw me watching and hung up, her eyes narrowing to slits. You think this ends here? Girl, you have no idea what you're stirring up. It was a warning. Or maybe a bluff. Either way, the game was on, and I was all in, chips stacked high with grudges. The days after the reunion blurred into a fevered dream of fallout, the kind where your phone buzzes nonstop with texts you regret reading. Willow Creek's grapevine lit up faster than a gas station explosion. Neighbors who'd waved politely at me pre-prison now crossed the street, their whispers trailing like exhaust fumes. Athena's gone off the deep end, they'd say at the coffee shop, stirring their lattes with that self-righteous cluck. But a few cracked open the door, old high school pals sliding into DMs with heard the tea spill, and even Dad, calling from the store office, his voice gravelly with what might have been shame. Come by,
kid.
We need to talk this out. I almost did. Almost let the olive branch pull me back into the fold. But revenge isn't a detour, it's the highway, and I was flooring it. Aunt Linda went radio silent at first, which should have been my cue to watch my back. Instead, I dove deeper, holing up in a dingy motel off I-94, the kind with vibrating beds and walls thin enough to hear the trucker's regrets. My PI, a grizzled ex-cop named Vic who took payments in installments, fed me files like junk food, bank statements showing Linda's Florida slush fund, emails where she sweet-talked Dad into advances for her investments. One gem, a voice memo from her phone, hacked via some dark web voodoo Vic swore was legalish, had her cackling to a girlfriend about that idiot niece taking the heat. Families thicker than prison bars. Ha! I played it on loop, letting the hate harden like mortar. But here's the thing about digging graves you might fall in. Late one night, scrolling through the metadata on those forged scans, I spotted it, a glitch in the timestamps. Not just Linda's work. My own login had popped up on a secondary transfer. $20,000 to a charity I didn't recognize. Heart slamming, I cross-checked with the plea docs. It wasn't a full-frame job. I'd signed off on that one, bleary-eyed after a 14-hour shift, thinking it was a legit wire for store supplies. Dad had routed it funny. To avoid fees, he'd said. Except the charity? A front for Linda's brother-in-law. Some sleaze in real estate who'd vanished after a Ponzi bust. I'd greenlit the poison. Unwittingly, or not. The realization hit like a sucker punch. I wasn't just the fall guy. I was complicit, a cog in their machine. I confronted Dad the next morning at the original Willow Hardware, the flagship store with its creaky wooden floors and the ghost of Mom's laugh in the rafters. He was behind the counter, ringing up a coil of extension cord for a hairy dad in cargo shorts. But his eyes lit when he saw me, hopeful, almost boyish. "Athena, grab a coffee from the break room. It's fresh." We ended up in the office, the same cramped space where he'd begged me to plead out, now cluttered with award plaques for Midwest Retailer of the Year. I laid it out flat, the memo, the timestamps, the charity scam. "You used me,
Dad.
to cover for her."
For all of you.
He deflated, shoulders slumping like a punctured tire. "It wasn't like that, honey. Linda was drowning, divorce wiped her out, and she came to me desperate. I thought one favor, just to get her on her feet." His hands twisted a stress ball, the one I'd bought him for Father's Day pre-jail. When the auditors came, it snowballed. "I couldn't let the store go under. It's all we have left of your mom."
Mom.
The invocation of her name, cancer-chewed and gone 5 years now, twisted the knife. She'd been the moral compass, the one who'd clip coupons and volunteer at the food bank, preaching, "Honesty's the only currency that doesn't depreciate." If she knew. "I took the fall for your sister's mess," I pressed, voice steady but laced with acid. 3 years of my life.
Dad.
While she sunned in Sarasota. He nodded, slow, tears tracking down his weathered cheeks. "I know. And I've regretted it every damn day. That's why I'm giving you 20% equity now, your name on the door. Full partner." It was a bribe, wrapped in paternal guilt, but damn if it didn't tempt. The store was my blood, my sweat, the empire I'd built before they burned it down. "And Linda?" I asked.
He sighed.
"She's out. Board vote next week. But keep it quiet till then, she's volatile." Volatile. Understatement of the century. That afternoon, as I drove back to the city, my rearview filled with the store's faded sign, my phone lit up with a block number. "You think you're clever, Athena?" Stirring the pot. Linda's voice, slurred with gin or rage. "I've got dirt that'd bury you deeper than you buried me."
Click.
I pulled over at a rest stop, pulse racing, and called Vic. Dig on her threats. And fast. He grunted affirmative. But I could hear the hesitation. These family feuds turn toxic quick. And PIs have bills too. The flip came 2 days later, courtesy of Becca's tearful doorstep ambush at my motel. She looked wrecked, mascara streaks, yoga pants rumpled like she'd slept in them. "Athena,
Please."
Mom's spiraling.
She tried to.
Hurt herself last night. The words punched the air out of me. Suicide attempt? Linda, the unbreakable, the one who'd outlast 2 husbands and a bankruptcy? Becca thrust a crumpled note at me. "They'll all know soon. Forgive me, girls." Forged or frantic. It didn't matter. Guilt crashed in like Lake Michigan waves. I followed her to the condo Dad had bought Linda post-divorce, a beige box in a gated community. The kind where HOAs fine you for untrimmed hedges. Linda was in the kitchen, bandaged wrists under a caftan, eyes puffy but sharp as ever. "Come to gloat," she rasped. But there was no fight, just exhaustion. I sat across the Formica table, the note between us like a loaded gun. "Why, Linda? Why me?" She lit a cigarette, banned in the building. But who cared? And exhaled smoke rings that curled like accusations. Because you were strong, Athena. Tougher than Becca. Than me. Your dad. He picked you to save us all. And I let him, because admitting I was the thief, that'd shatter everything. It was a confession, raw and ragged, but laced with that schemer's glint. But you're not innocent. That charity wire? You signed it.
Girl.
We all have stains. The room spun. She was right. I'd been sloppy, trusting, the perfect patsy. But as she spun her sob story, detailing how the skimming started as loans for her gambling debts, then spiraled into forgeries to cover the holes, I saw the flip, not remorse, but manipulation. She was flipping the script, painting herself the victim to peel me off Dad's back. Join me, she whispered, leaning in, her perfume cloying as deceit. We'll split the blame. Sue the auditors for harassment. Get rich off the settlement. It was insane. Seductive, a chance to rewrite the narrative. Make us the heroes against the system.
For a heartbeat.
I wavered. Imagine it, Athena and Linda, the outlaw ants, thumbing noses at the suits. But then I remembered the cell block cold, the holidays alone with a smuggled radio crooning Christmas tunes.
No.
You're done, I said.
Standing.
Equity or not, Dad's cutting you loose. As I left, her laughter followed, manic, unhinged.
Oh.
Athena. You think this is about money? It's blood. And blood always circles back. Chills prickled my skin, but I shook them off, gunning the engine toward Chicago. Vic texted en route. Your aunt's been calling in favors. Old boyfriend's a fixer. Watch for tails. Paranoia set in. Shadows lengthening as rush hour choked the Dan Ryan. By nightfall, I was in a new crash pad. A studio walk-up in Pilsen with bars on the windows and murals of Aztec warriors glaring down. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of Mom's grave sprouting forged checks like weeds. The escalation hit midweek. A package on my doorstep. No return address. Just a manila envelope stuffed with photos.
Me.
Leaving the jail gates.
Me.
At the motel.
Me.
Meeting Vic in a diner booth. Surveillance shots.
Time-stamped. Tucked inside.
A note in Linda's looping script. Walk away. Or these go to your new friends at the temp agency. Ex-cons don't get second chances. Blackmail. Classic Linda, flip from desperate to dagger in a blink. I burned the pics in the sink. Flames licking up the evidence. But the threat lingered like smoke. She wasn't just scheming. She was surviving. Claws out. Ready to drag me under to stay afloat. I needed leverage. Something nuclear. Vic came through with a bombshell. Audio from Linda's suicide night. Not to 911, but to her fixer ex. Pleading. Bury it deeper. Athena's onto the second ledger. The one with her daddy's cut. Dad's cut? My world tilted again. That night, I broke into the store after hours. Key still worked. Ghost of privileges past, rifling the safe for the old books. There it was, a hidden drive. Backups from the fraud days. Transfers not just to Linda's accounts, but Dad's personal one, funneled as consulting for a side hustle in crypto that tanked hard. He'd skimmed too, small at first, then desperate to cover Mom's medical bills. The betrayal layered deeper, a family onion of lies peeling to rot. Dawn broke as I sat on the loading dock, drive in hand, the city waking with horns and coffee steam.
Call Dad?
Expose it all? Or weaponize it against Linda? Force her hand? The choice gnawed, controversial in its cruelty. Ruin the man who'd raised me? Or let the snake slither free? Revenge whispered both. And neither. I pocketed the drive, resolve hardening. The climax was coming, and it'd leave no one clean. You don't plot revenge in a vacuum. It festers, feeding on the quiet moments when doubt creeps in like damp through a basement wall. By Friday, I'd hold up with the drive's secrets, cross-referencing them against public records on my ancient laptop. The one perk of jail was learning patience with buffering screens. Dad's crypto folly wasn't just bad luck. It had been a Ponzi echo, roping in family investors like Uncle Ray, who lost his nest egg and blamed the market crash. Linda had brokered it, her ex the middleman, promising guaranteed 20% returns over wine-soaked dinners. And me, I'd wired the seed money. Blind faith in Dad's big idea. We'd all drunk the Kool-Aid, but I was the one left holding the empty pitcher. The plan crystallized over takeout lo mein. Cold noodles mirroring my cooling heart, a public reckoning. Not in some shadowy backroom, but where it hurt most, the store's 10-year anniversary gala. Black tie schmoozing with suppliers and local pals at the Willow Creek Country Club. Invites had gone out pre-reunion, gold-embossed and unavoidable. I'd RSVP'd as +1 to Becca, who, bless her flaky soul, hadn't rescinded it yet. Vic tailed Linda that week, reporting her frantic calls to lawyers and her ex, who turned out to be a disbarred attorney now slinging consulting in Nevada. She's cornered, he said over burner phone. But cornered rats bite hardest. Becca cornered me first, showing up at my pills and walk-up with lattes and that puppy dog plea. The gala's tomorrow. Mom's a wreck. Won't even leave her room. Athena. Whatever grudge. Can it wait? For Dad? For us?
Us.
The word stung. A reminder of the sister bond we'd lost to her globe-trotting whims and my striped uniform. She looked smaller in the harsh morning light, freckles stark against pale skin. And for a flash, I saw the kid who'd shared secrets under porch lights, plotting world domination with sidewalk chalk. It's not a grudge, Bex, I lied, handing her a mug. It's justice. But fine, truce for one night. No bombshells. She hugged me fierce, whispering thanks, oblivious to the drive burning a hole in my clutch. The gala was peak Midwest pomp, chandeliers dripping from vaulted ceilings, waiters in cummerbunds circulating shrimp puffs and Chardonnay. I slipped in on Becca's arm. Vintage, sheath dress hugging curves softened by jail chow. Hair pinned in a low chignon that said, poised but pissed. Dad spotted us from the podium. Mid-toast to resilience and family unity, his smile faltering like a glitchy projector. Aunt Linda hovered at the bar, a martini talisman. Her gown a desperate bit at glamour, sequins straining over bingo wings. She clocked me and stiffened, but I played cool, mingling with old suppliers who clapped my back with, heard you were traveling, welcome home. Lies lubricated the small talk, but tension thrummed beneath, electric as a storm front. Halfway through the rubber chicken, Dad pulled me aside to the veranda, the golf course stretching dark and manicured under floodlights. You came, he said, relief warring with wariness. I nodded, the drive heavy in my palm. For Mom's memory. But we end this tonight.
Dad.
All of it. His face crumpled, the big man reduced to whispers. I can't. Athena. The store. If this leaks, we're done. Pensions, jobs, raise retirement. Becca's wedding fund. Wedding? News to me. But it landed like shrapnel. He was flipping too, from confessor to beggar. Offering scraps. Name your price.
Half the chain. Just.
Mercy.
Mercy.
The word tasted like ash. Before I could retort, Linda materialized. X in tow, a slick weasel in a rented tux. Eyes darting like a ferret's. Family meeting, she announced. Voice honey over hemlock. We huddled by the railings. The quartet strings sawing Vivaldi inside as cover. Athena's got the drive, Linda said flatly. No preamble. Her ex smirked, flashing a USB stick, my photos, digitized and damning. And we've got leverage. Trade. You delete yours. We delete ours. Clean slate. It was a standoff. Gunslingers at high noon. But the flip came swift. Linda's eyes softened. Theatrical tears welling. I'm sorry.
Niece.
It was survival. But we're blood. Let it go. And I'll confess to the board. Take the heat alone. The offer hung. Polarizing even in my gut. Let her self-immolate. Spare Dad. Reclaim some moral high ground? Or expose the rot. Watch the empire crumble. Become the villain who torched her own nest? Becca joined then.
Sensing the vibe.
Her hand on my arm anchor. Please. Athena. For once, be the bigger person. Bigger. Always the burden on me. The strong one. Rage bubbled. Hot and unbidden. I yanked the drive free. Held it high like Lady Liberty's torch. Bigger? I did 3 years being bigger for all of you. While you partied on my pain. In a move that shocked even me. I snapped it in half. Shards glinting on the stone floor.
There.
No more secrets. But this, I jabbed at Linda's ex. Those pics hit the shredder. Or I scream fraud to every suit in there. Your call. Chaos erupted. The ex lunged for the pieces, desperate. Sloppy, but Dad body-checked him. Grunting enough, like a linebacker past his prime. Linda wailed, collapsing against the railing in a puddle of sequins and sobs. Becca froze, eyes wide with that "what have you done?" betrayal. And me, adrenaline sang in my veins, victory bitter as bile. We'd polarized the night, heroes to some, monsters to others. Inside, the toast wrapped, applause polite but strained, whispers rippling like aftershocks. But revenge's high fades fast, leaving you hollow as a gutted fish. As the valet fetched my car, Dad caught me at the lot's edge. Envelope in hand, checks, fat ones, for back pay and damages. Go start fresh.
Kid.
Somewhere the air's cleaner. His hug was fierce. Final. The scent of his aftershave a time machine to Little League games and bedtime stories. I drove off into the sodium-lit sprawl, radio crooning some country ballad about lost highways, tears blurring the taillights. Clean slate?
Bull.
Scars don't fade. They just get make-upped for photos. The twist slithered in at 2 a.m., a knock rattling my door like Judgment Day. Vic.
Disheveled.
Thrusting a tablet under my nose. Your aunt's ex? Not just a fixer. He's wired to the feds, undercover. Baiting white-collar stings. The gala footage played. Grainy but clear. Linda's confession whispers. Her ex nodding along. Mic'd up. It wasn't a standoff, it was a setup. She'd flipped again. Not to me, but to the law, trading her ass for immunity. Dragging Dad and me into the crosshairs as co-conspirators. My snap drive? A feint. She'd copied it weeks ago. Via mole in Vic's office. The checks from Dad?
Bait.
Traced for laundering. Fury roared back, but laced with something darker. Pity? Admiration? Linda, the ultimate chameleon, scheming her way to salvation on our bones. I laughed, manic, as sirens wailed distant in the night. Call the cops?
Run?
Or join the fray? Testify against her for a reduced sentence? The choice loomed. Controversial as hell, no winners, just survivors picking shrapnel from their hides. By dawn, feds at my door, badges gleaming, I chose the one that'd haunt me. Truth, raw and ragged. Start with her, I said, pointing to the ex's contact. She's the snake in the garden. The arrests hit the local news by noon. Willow hardware heir. Aunt nabbed in embezzlement sting. Clickbait headlines painted me the whistleblower. Dad the duped patriarch. Linda the mastermind. Becca called, sobbing. You destroyed us. But in her voice, a thread of relief, freedom from the lies. The debates ignited online. Forums buzzing. Athena's a hero, finally grew a spine, versus she's as guilty as the rest, karma's a bitch. Polarized, just like I'd craved. Polarized, and profoundly alone. Jail Redux wasn't the hellscape of round one. This time, it was pretrial purgatory. A county lockup with better coffee, but the same soul-suck of fluorescent eternity. The feds cut me slack, cooperation credit. They called it 2 months in holding while the case unspooled like a bad procedural. Dad got house arrest. Ankle monitor chafing his golf game. Issuing statements about lessons learned that rang hollow as a dropped mic. Becca vanished to her art commune in New Mexico, posting cryptic watercolors of fractured families, likes pouring in from strangers who'd been there. And Linda?
Oh.
She flipped like a politician at a fundraiser. Plea deal in hand, testifying against her ex and a dozen associates in exchange for time served. It was survival, she purred on the stand, all teary remorse. The jury eating it up like apple pie. I watched via closed circuit, her eyes meeting the cameras, mine, like a wink from hell. My lawyer, a sharp-elbowed public defender named Carla, who'd clawed her way from the projects, prepped me for the deal. Testify. Admit my role in the wire. Walk with probation and restitution. You're the redeemable one, she said over vending machine candy. The aunt's the villain. Your dad's the tragic figure. Lean into that. Redeemable. The word chafed, implying I'd been soiled beyond polish. Nights in my cell, I'd pace the 4 steps to the bars, replaying the gala snap, the drives crack like thunder, the family's fracture. Was it justice or just vengeance dressed in pearls? Forums raged. Athena Venger trended on X, with memes of me as a caped crusader wielding spreadsheets, countered by family-first trolls decrying snitch culture. Polarization peaked when a podcaster interviewed Linda's victims, creditors stiffed by her scams, painting her the devil. Me the devil's unwitting apprentice. The twist I'd craved landed sideways. Courtesy of a manila envelope slipped under my cell door one gray morning, no name. Just Dad's handwriting on the front. Read this. Then decide. Inside. Letters, dozens. Mom's script looping elegant across yellowed pages. Dated from her chemo days. To my girl Athena, one began. If you're reading this, the store's in trouble. And I've gone ahead. Don't hate your father. He did what I asked. The bills. They're mine. Experimental treatments. Off books. Linda knew a guy. My breath hitched. Mom hadn't just balanced books. She'd cooked them. siphoning for drugs not covered by insurance. Linda her reluctant accomplice. Dad's schemes? Covering mom's tracks post-diagnosis. The crypto hustle, a smokescreen for black market meds. I'd wired not just dad's folly, but mom's desperation, a mother's love. Forged in fraud. The cell spun, walls closing like a vice. All of it for her. The betrayal? A chain reaction from her grave. I wept then, ugly and unchecked. The guard banging quiet down, like punctuation. How to testify now?
Paint Mom the monster?
Or bury it deeper? Let the lies lie? Carla found me red-eyed at arraignment prep. What's eating you? I showed her a letter, the ink blurred by tears. She scanned it, whistled low. Holy plot twist. This changes everything or nothing. Feds'll want it for leverage on Linda. Leverage. The word soured. Mom's secret wasn't ammo. It was absolution. Or damnation. Depending on the lens. Trial day dawned crisp October. Leaves flaming red outside the courthouse like nature's indictment. The gallery buzzed, reporters with notepads. Kin scattered like shrapnel. Uncle Ray stone-faced. Becca absent but live tweeting from afar. Linda took the stand first, her flip artistry on full. I acted alone, protecting my brother's legacy.
Lies.
Smooth as silk. But her eyes darted to me, pleading, defiant. Dad followed. Voice cracking on regret, the jury nodding like bobbleheads. My turn came post-lunch. The room stuffy, with expectation. Carla squeezed my hand. Truth. Athena. Whatever it costs. I stood, oath heavy as handcuffs, facing the prosecutor, a bulldog in Brooks Brothers. MS. Hail. You authorized the disputed transfer. Why? The question hung, and in that beat, the world forked, safe lie, or grenade truth. I glanced at Dad, his face ashen, then thought of Mom's letters, her scrawl fierce with love. Because I trusted my family, I said, voice steady. But it started before me, with my mother's medical debts. She skimmed first, to fight her cancer. Dad covered. Aunt Linda facilitated. I finished the chain. Gasps rippled. The judge's gavel cracked like lightning. A chaos, sidebar whispers, Linda's head snapping up, eyes wide with betrayal's mirror. The courtroom erupted post-revelation, reporters scrambling. Dad slumping. Linda hissing from the stand, you bitch. But the flip was mine now. The ultimate controversy. Honoring Mom's ghost by exhuming her sins. Forcing the family to reckon with the matriarch marred. The judge adjourned. Mistrial murmurs swirling. But the damage, no. The detonation was done. Feds pounced on Linda harder. Her deal crumbling like stale bread, Dad's charges mounted. But with Mom's letters as exhibit, sympathy swelled. Me? I became the lightning rod. Debates exploding. Athena exposed a dying woman's desperation, hero or heartless, versus she torched her own blood for clout, unforgivable. Months blurred in plea negotiations. The drive's shards metaphor for our shattered dynasty. The store sold off in pieces. Proceeds split to victims, irony's bitter pill. Dad got community service. Volunteering at cancer wards. His penance poetic. Linda? 5 years. No parole. Her flips finally fixed in stripes. Becca resurfaced for sentencing, hugging me tentative in the hall. I get it now. Messy. But necessary. We parted ambiguous. Sisters still, but scarred. My ending? Not triumphant fanfare, but a quiet by tragic grace. Probation meant freedom with footnotes, no voting, no loans, endless forms. I landed in Milwaukee. A starter gig auditing for a nonprofit, ironic. Watching others' books for funny business. Nights. I write letters to mom. Unsent. Spilling the what-ifs. Revenge delivered catharsis. Sure. But left questions gnawing. Was the snap worth a shatter? Did truth free us? Or just flay the flesh? Readers, hell. The world, still argue it in comment threads. Picking sides like it's a football rivalry. No one's wholly right, wholly wrong, we're all just humans, fumbling in the dark with lit matches. Willow Creek fades in the rearview, a suburb scar on my map. But sometimes, driving past hardware stores with their glowing signs, I feel the pull, the empire's echo, the family's fracture. And I wonder, if I could rewind to that reunion hush, potato salad sweating, would I drop the bomb again?
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. Because silence is the real prison, and I've served enough time